Richard Boom here. I'm not part of this madness.
Must have been to a higher ground. Lifted up.
Hello guys and welcome back to I'm Not Part of This Madness, a show where I record my thoughts about the world's madness. I know that I've said that the first 3 episodes of this show will primarily focus on what the show is all about. And I think it's logical to expect that I will be talking about myself or who you are listening to. But I won't do that, because this is what you're going to get as we go along. And as we move forward, you will get bits and pieces of information about myself. I also think that, it's a bit egotistic to keep on talking about myself. And I don't want this show to be about me. I want this show to be about ideas. I want this show to be the quest for truth, no matter how megalomaniac that might sound like. Instead, let me just give you some idea of who you are listening to, so that I don't sound like an ethereal voice in your computer. Though I might sound like a philosopher, or I might tilt towards philosophy, I don't consider myself as a philosopher, nor should you consider me as a philosopher. I consider myself more of a thinker, someone who tries to think at least, or tries to analyze ideas with objectivity and rationality and logic. I think philosophers are way, way, way up there, and I don't think I am up there with them. So don't look at me as a philosopher. I like facts, and I like being objective. Some call me a cold stoic for that, but I guess that is the result or the side effect of the pursuit for reason, evidence, and following things to its logical conclusion, which is, of course, the truth. And that is something that we are going to talk about today, the truth. Because truth is reality. Truth is the ultimate reality. And if we don't look for the truth, everything will just look distorted and really bad. So imagine that we have 2 zebras and a lion. Let's call zebra 1 Nigel, and let's call zebra 2 David. Okay, so you have Nigel and David the zebra, I don't know, doing whatever zebras do in the savannah. I don't know, eating grass and walking around and being zebras. So Nigel suddenly sees a lion, and he says to David the zebra, "Look, there's a lion hiding behind the bush. I think it wants to terrorize the herd so it can eat one of us. It's showing all the signs of being a hungry lion. It's drooling, it's eyeing us with those hungry lion eyes and whatever. It behaves suspiciously behind the bush. It's been observing us, and it surely doesn't look like it wants to integrate into our zebra herd." So to that, zebra 2, David, says, "Nigel, don't be absurd. There's 1 in 100 chance that you or me will be a meal of a terror lion. The zebra press is just exaggerating everything. Besides, gazelles are easier meals, so why would any lion want to eat a zebra? We're safe here. Don't worry about it, Nigel. You worry a lot." To which Nigel the zebra says, "But there's strong evidence to suggest that hungry carnivores don't care which animal the meat is coming from. As long as it's meat, the carnivore will eat it, and, lions are carnivores, and we are basically meals on the go, meals on legs. There are also a number of terror lion attacks on other zebra herds before, and the growing number of lions migrating into this area increases our risk of being the next terror lion's meal. We need to get out of here and we need to warn others, David. To that, David says, "You racist, xenophobic zebra. Not all lions eat zebras. I know this one lion, this one time, he did not eat a zebra and instead, he chose to eat a gazelle. And Nigel, you need to be more tolerant of other animals that want to migrate and live in this area. We need to accept lions even if their culture, beliefs, and way of life are opposite and incompatible with ours. Diversity is our strength, you see, Nigel." So Nigel the zebra, shuts up because he does not want to be called a racist or intolerant or xenophobic. Now, let me ask you this. Which zebra do you think is likely to survive? Which zebra do you think is closer to the reality or closer to the truth? Now, I know that is a very crafted example of my point, but what I'm trying to convey here is that living organisms, and that includes humans, we depend upon our accurate perception of reality so that we can survive. In other words, organisms, humans included, depend upon knowing the truth, reality, to survive at least long enough to have plenty of sex and babies. You see, reality is the ultimate truth. We live in it, we breathe it, we look for it, and this is the foundation of everything we do. To seek the truth means to seek reality. And of course, the first step, if we want to have an accurate or close to accurate perception of reality, is to know the nature of truth. What is the truth? It's unfortunate that a lot of people seek the truth, they chase it, they speak of it. Oh, the truth, I want to know the truth, tell me the truth, and the truth, it's the truth, the truth will set you free. But at the same time, these people give zero thought about the nature or essence of the truth. Zero, nada, zilch, nothing. So I know that's a very long introduction to our video, but in this episode, I want to talk about what is the truth. We'll try to look under the hood of the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, because it is so important for us to understand the truth before we move forward. Because this is the basis of everything that we do, and the truth is the basis of reality. It is reality, in fact. And in this show, this is the thing that we pursue. This is the standard by which we measure everything. Because the truth and the reality is all we have. This is all we have. And this is the only way we could survive. If we could see reality without distortion, if we could see the truth undistorted, then we have a better chance of survival and finding meaning in a cold, indifferent universe, if you will. So first things first, how do we define the truth? When we deal with truth, a lot of people, they talk of the relative and the absolute truth. I think that there's no such thing as a relative truth, but it's important for me to also define this to you so that you see the BS when people try to pull a relative truth on you. Relativists believe that reality is variable and subjective. They believe that the truth is relative and the validity and meaning of the truth is derived from subjective values according to a specific context, i.e. the differences in perception and other considerations. But if you contrast that with what we call the absolute truth, or the real truth, I would say, the absolute truth is an inflexible reality. It is fixed, it is invariable, and it is an unalterable fact. For example, there are no square circles. That is fixed, that is invariable, that is true all the time, and that is true everywhere. And you cannot modify it, right? There are no square circles. That is a very abstract example of what the truth is. But I just want to illustrate a point of what the absolute truth is. The truth is or at least the absolute truth, is a unique force in the universe. Despite its powers and inarguability, if there's such a word, and its universality, unfortunately, the acceptance of the truth, unfortunately, it is not universal. That is very unfortunate. And I guess the larger question here is, how do we know if we are dealing with the real truth, the absolute truth? What are the characteristics of the truth, the real truth, not this relativistic nonsense that everybody seems to throw around? There is a couple of characteristics when we are dealing with the truth, and one of them is that the truth is absolute, meaning that the truth does not depend upon anything else. Something that is true will be true every time, everywhere, and for anyone or anything. It's absolute. The validity of the truth is absolute. That is one, and that is very important. And the second most important characteristic of the truth is what is called correspondence, meaning that the truth reflects or corresponds to reality. This is why we have certain standards of proof and evidence. This is why we have logic and reason for evaluating statements and arguments, because the truth needs to correspond with reality. And of course, anything that is true is also coherent. It has the characteristic of being coherent, meaning that truth must have an internal and external consistency or cohesion. It cannot contradict itself, as in the case of a square circle. That is false because it contradicts itself. So you know that the square has 4 corners and a circle has no corners. So if you say that an object is a square circle, it contradicts itself, because the nature of a circle has no corners and the nature of the square has 4 corners. And an object cannot be a square and a circle at the same time. So it's incoherent or inconsistent, and it is self-contradictory. And maybe we could also add there that truth is singular, meaning the truth does not come in bits and pieces of disconnected and unrelated data or ideas. So it should be coherent and it should be singular. Once someone makes it so complicated and you need to do backflips while doing a blowjob, I mean, you're almost certain that that person is trying to BS you, all right? Because the truth is coherent. Another thing that you need to look for when we talk about the truth is that the truth is universal, meaning it equally applies to everything and to everyone. This is the reason why a lot of people give a lot of ish about the truth, because the truth applies to everything and everyone all the time, right? And finally, I think one of the most important characteristic of the truth is objectivity. This means that the truth is not discovered by personal feelings, nor is it discovered by feminine intuition. Truth is objective. Instead, the truth is, propositional, meaning that we convey the truth through narrowly defined words that have rational definitions and is stated in precise terms that communicate real meaning. For example, and you will see why it is so important that we define things narrowly and we have clear and precise terms when we try to communicate the truth. For example, and I hear this a lot, especially in the mainstream media with the pundits, the reporters, and especially politicians. They love these big words. And one of the examples that I could give you is that they often say, especially when talking of military operations, they say, we need a strong response to X. What the hell is that strong response? Can you define that strong response? Is that strong response equal to 50 Tomahawk missiles being rained down upon the belligerent country? Or the strong response means boots on the ground, tanks, and weaponry? Does it mean chemical attack? Does it mean nuclear weapons? So you see, you cannot be objective if you are not clear on the definition of terms. And this is something that is so important to understand. When someone is talking to you and claiming to know the truth, the first thing that you need to ask is, what do you mean by that? In our example, it is, what do you mean by strong response? You see, it has to be clear in your head what they are talking about so that you can find the truth to any statement or idea or concept. What do you mean by that? You kind of, I hate to say this, but you kind of force them to cough out what they really mean when they say something. Because the thing is, truth is black and white. It is definite, it is definitive, and it is conclusive. How can you be definite and definitive and conclusive when you have such a vague term such as strong response? What the hell is a strong response? I don't know what you mean by that. It's meaningless, so to speak. In that regard, I would also like to say that the truth is not abstract, it's not vague, or it's not confusing. The meaning or the definition of the words that is used to convey the truth is fixed. Nobody could change the definition of terms as they see fit. And those things can be observed, can be discussed, can be studied, it can be analyzed, it could be believed, proclaimed, defended, falsified, or verified. This is why we have arguments and debates, because the truth can be defended, can be falsified, and can be verified. So do you see why a lot of people care about the truth? Why people give an ish in finding the truth? It's because of those characteristics that I just talked about. On the other hand, we have the relativists. Those people who believe that there's no such a thing as the truth. Everything is relative, so there is no truth. So you have people like that, and you really have people like that. But the problem with that relativistic approach is that, as I've mentioned, if everything is relative, then nothing can be true, because the validity of any statement, concept, ideas, or arguments depend upon a certain framework of assessment. And that framework of assessment is very hard or cannot be verified or falsified. And it can be changed according to whatever fits the current agenda. The issue there is that truth becomes flexible and subjective. The truth is relative to X. And when truth is flexible, we can justify and make everything true according to a certain framework that supports it. You can always change the variables. This is the type of people that always says, oh, for me, this is how it is. I feel like this is what it is. They will always come up with something to justify the truthness or the falsehood of their statement. And also a big problem when we make truth relative to X is that there are a lot of things that can be justified. For example, if truth is relative, and if you believe that truth is relative, then we cannot condemn the Nazis for killing millions of Jews because they believe that they are right to kill Jews, according at least to their belief system. We should assess the validity of their actions according to that framework of beliefs because their actions are relative to their beliefs. That is, if you believe that truth is relative. Now, if you believe in the absolute truth, that killing is killing and killing is bad, then you can condemn the Nazis. But if truth is relative, then you cannot. Another one, say we have a hypothetical culture and you belong to this culture and you believe that it's okay to gang rape women who wears above the knee skirts and or sleeveless tops. Then we cannot say that this hypothetical culture is bad and they are wrong to gang rape these women and assault and abuse them. And we need to say that we must tolerate this practice because it is true and good based on the norms of this hypothetical culture. Do you see how screwed up it is when we make the truth flexible and relative? I will give you another example. It is female genital mutilation or female circumcision. So female genital mutilation involves the removal of some, if not all, of the woman's external genitalia. That includes, of course, sometimes the closure of the vulva. So basically, you cannot wham bam thank you ma'am if they do that. And the procedure has no medical benefits and can cause health problems because if you imagine closing a woman's vagina, you could already imagine the problems that you will have, such as urinating, infections, complications in childbirth, and probably during the procedure, the woman can bleed to death. If we apply the logic of a relativistic truth to this matter, then we cannot say, despite the fact that there is no beneficial outcome to this practice, and in fact there are a lot of negative impacts, then we cannot say that this is bad and societies that practice this should stop this norm. We cannot condemn it. The feminists cannot go out and say, hey, female genital mutilation, stop it. This is why a relativistic truth is just crazy. And for my purpose, and it can be yours as well if you want to take part, we do not chase these relative truths. We always seek for the truth, the absolute truth. Always we seek for the principles behind everything. I mean, there should be a principle that applies all the time to everyone and anything, right? And this is what we are trying to look for. And I know that this is not easy, but this is all we have. And I would say this again, all living organisms, including humans, depend upon their accurate perception of reality to survive. In other words, we need to know the truth long enough to survive and have plenty of sex and babies. Alright guys, so this has gone long enough, but I hope that was useful to you, and I hope that you would keep that in mind, because here I really try to look for the truth and the principles behind what I am talking about. So I hope you will be guided accordingly and you will keep on looking for the truth. And if you like this episode, please share, subscribe, and see you soon.
You should know a thing about me.